Well, hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut. I'm here with Brian Galke, and we're Aces 53. What's
Yeah.
Aces 53, you ask? Well, that is attitude, commitment, enthusiasm, smile. And then the Joker is that unique ability you bring to the table, and that's the 53 because it's that's the 53rd card in a deck is the Joker, the first Joker. Not the second Joker because that's 54.
Ah, let's say count threes, fours. I got you.
Anyway, so we Tuesdays we talk about the aces part, and then on Thursday we have a Joker come in. But today it's unique because Brian's the Joker.
Yes.
He's no good at
Not
comedy,
at
but
all.
no, horrible.
Yeah.
But Tuesday we were talking about Chris Voss,
Right.
and you were going to watch one of his
There you go.
webinar, whatever. Split the
Yeah. Never
difference.
split the difference. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you did, and we thought we'd see if you learned anything.
Right. Yeah. He was on.
So I'll be back in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Exactly. No, he was on a podcast yesterday, and he came on, and ironically, he was
You
in
mean
Dallas.
on Tuesday?
Huh? Yeah.
Today's Thursday. Hello.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
What day?
I know everything runs together. It was Tuesday.
Yeah. Whatever day he was here,
Yeah.
he was actually in Dallas to speak. So I was trying to, on the webinar, be like, so where in Dallas are you at? And I was going to try and stalk him and meet up with him. But that negotiation tactic failed.
Okay.
And but the good news is the people who did the webinar said they'll put me in touch with his people. So who knows? We'll see if we can ever make it happen. But
but he won't be in Dallas at that time.
Oh, you never know. They come around and do training programs. So we'll see. I actually have a picture with him from 5 years ago that I found out where he was in Dallas. And I was still a corporate employee at the time. And on my lunch break, I snuck over there and knew where in the hotel it was. And when they went on a coffee break, I went inside, got a picture with him, and then just left. Had him sign my book too. So, but anyway, who are we talking about? We were talking about Chris Voss, wrote the book, Never Split the Difference. And it's a negotiation book. We talked about it on Tuesday, former FBI negotiator. And he was on like the international kidnapping, like task force organization, all that. So he had to deal with some high profile cases going out there. And what's interesting is a lot of what he learned, he ended up teaching at Harvard in the negotiations class. So the professors and people who actually had the class brought him in, and he out negotiated everybody. And that was kind of one of his big claims to fame. So
I'm sorry, I'm not ignoring you. I wanted to find that book that you had sent me the other day that you.
Oh,
what he was talking about. Sorry, that's what I was trying to.
The full fee agent.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's interesting because he is pivoting to not just teaching corporations about negotiations. He's helping realtors. He's writing additional books on emotional intelligence and tactical empathy. That's kind of what he's known for, is tactical empathy. But because of what's been going on with housing the last year or so, with housing going up and interest rates going up, he wrote a book called The Full Fee Agent. And that's one of the things he's working on. But he's working in different industries and with different groups. So the cool thing about him is after he left the FBI, he started the Black Swan group. And so you can go and you can do video trainings with them. He actually has a new thing. I got an email, I'll have to forward to you today. He's going to do like a paid for podcast where you subscribe to it, but it actually has a fee. And it's called Fireside Chats. And his first guest is going to be Mark Cuban. But it's all going to be other people besides him. So he's going to give in a little bit of his tactical empathy. What did he learn during that period of time? What did his version of the Joker, what we're calling the Joker, what do they bring to the table? But he's launching that this next week. The first episode is free. So if you're watching, go to his website, Black Swan, I think LTD. I'll put it in the show notes. And you can watch it for free this 1 week, and then it'll be a paid for platform after that.
But, yeah, that's kind of like the Huberman podcast, the guy I listen to all the time. He has his normal podcast, and then they have an AMA where that's you pay for that one, and you can get more information. And I think depending on where you are, that in your scale of who you are, that could work. And so that Full Fee Agent is actually on Audible too.
Oh, is it?
Okay. Yeah, I just noticed that.
Well, the funny thing is, I guarantee it's probably not him on Audible, because we talked about it on Tuesday. When I first listened to the Audible of his book, very eloquent speaker. And then he comes out and he's a Missouri guy who then lived in Boston, New York, all over. And so he sounds more like a New Yorker who smokes a pack of cigarettes than he does the guy on Audible. So it threw me at first when I met him. But it's interesting. He's also just recently doing a book now where people could purchase the right to have a chapter in the book. So he's expanding into multiple different regions.
He's doing that too?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. He did that too. It was a little pricey to do it, but you know what? With a name like his, he can charge for it. So I'll let people do their own research on that one. It may actually be full because this was about a month ago that he was doing it. But I sat and watched the webinar, and I'll tell you, it was pretty damn tempting to think to help be a part of a book that has his name on it, just because I love his stuff. So anyway,
I take it you're not in it then.
No, not unless you want to let me borrow some money. Like I said, let's just say it's a good chunk, but anyway. So what he came on and talked about is a little, obviously the book, his history and everything, but what he went through was some of the things people get right and wrong in negotiations. And so the first thing is this one called an accusation audit. And because, as Ed pointed out, I'm bad about reading it to you, I'll just give you the summary and you can read it down below. But an accusation audit is anytime that you feel that the customer has a preconceived notion or a concern, you just call it out and name it right up front. So if you're coming in and let's say you're a salesperson for an organization, there's a lot of people who start off and say, hey, I know you're thinking, I'm gonna have to tell you something. And guess what? You're right. By naming it or calling it out up front, you relieve that pressure and that concern because everybody's waiting. Like we've joked on the podcast before. It's like when people go out on a first date, they're waiting for the end of the night for the kiss. Well, they're just waiting for that. So if you bring up their concern or question up front, it helps alleviate pressure and you can kind of move on from things. And that was kind of where he started it with was naming and labeling those concerns help take out a lot of the tension when negotiations are involved. Now, the other thing that was a little bit interesting was when he started talking about negotiations, it was that really by focusing on loss, it's easier to negotiate because people are either drawn towards pleasure or away from pain. And most time, people don't think about the money they'll make. They're concerned about the money that they would lose. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you're having a negotiation with somebody and they think there's a greater loss to their side, then they'll try and negotiate in a hurry because they don't want things to drag on. So that was an interesting one.
Stay there because that's like right now in my industry.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to rates going up and everything, people could buy a house without question and their payment would be the same as rent or less.
Yes.
Now it's the opposite way and so much more that people are like questioning, should I do this? Where before they didn't even question. They're like, yeah, this is a great idea. Mm-hmm. I'm taking $100,000 out and I'm able to keep my payment the same.
Yes.
Now it's not the same. And so it costs, and people are doing the same thing right now in our industry. So you actually have to get back to sales and help them walk through the process. I had some people yesterday went through that whole thing. I thought they got it. They got it, but they just didn't want to move forward.
Yeah.
You follow me? Because even the pain of making that payment, because they've been living in a house for 3 years with no payments.
Yeah.
A long story. But anyway, and so it's like, yeah, it's just, so it's hard that's that pain, that you're talking about, or pleasure. The pleasures, they really like this house, but the pain was, I don't know if I can make that payment. And every time someone says that, once you get into the house, by the second payment, you're like, this is no big deal.
Yeah, what becomes the norm, right? That's how we all went through a majority of life. Because when you start off young, you're working at fast food or retail work, or something where you're not making much. And you think, oh, I can never afford it. But the funny thing is life adjusts. You somehow figure out how to make it happen. Having a kid, it was always that, well, we'll wait till there's the right time. There is no right time to have a kid. You just have a kid and you figure it out. Because you have to, it's when you're forced to adjust or expand, you tend to do it. Now, there's a few exceptions of people who don't, but you're right. It's that perceived fear of loss that causes hesitation in a lot of people. So, and then what he also talked about is what he's known for, and that is tactical mirroring. Now, what was really interesting about this one is he did talk about you match people's words and you match people's energies and everything. He said, except for if people are erratic. And he even brought up that he studies other people like the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort. He takes other classes, he reads other books. And he said, the one thing that I disagree with some people is they always say, match the intensity and emotions of the person you're talking to. Mm-hmm. He said, we never did that as negotiators in the FBI. Because can you imagine if they're sitting there and screaming a demand and I start screaming one back, that doesn't work. So
you never know. You can try it.
You can try, right? But he said if you ever are trying to de-escalate something, then matching intensities doesn't tend to work, at least in the experience that he had with being in the FBI. What was interesting about that, and this comes to you naturally, and you've talked about this in other episodes, and that is one of the things that's helped you in your business is having that low, deep voice. Well, in his book, that's what he calls the late night DJ or FM DJ voice. And he talked about that when you're mirroring and matching and they're erratic and they're yelling and screaming, you can start to change that negotiation by going ahead and starting the lower, slower, late night DJ voice. And he actually gave a tip, which I don't remember reading it in the book. And that was, in addition to slowing your words down and purposely lowering your tone, when you lower your chin, it automatically creates that type of voice. Versus when you raise high, you talk high, but when you bring low, it sounds lower. So it was an interesting physical technique that he taught that I don't remember reading in the book.
Here's an example. So I think I told you I've been doing live radio this week, 5 to 6, right? I've said that, I guess, a few times. And yesterday, I do my opener, I'm doing the thing, and then it's the break, and the producer's like, "Hey, can you bring the energy a little bit, please?" I'm like, "Am I that bad?" Because I was just, it's my voice, and he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "If you think you're over the top on energy, you're right where you need to be."
Yeah.
And so it was like, when I came back, I was like, "Hey," I was like loud. And I said, "Hey, I got my coffee in while I was gone, and it's so much better now. So let's get moving on this."
Yeah. Mike Rowe, when he came out and talked at one of the events I went to recently, he's got that deep voice and he talks slow. And when he tells stories, you're kind of like, "Oh, I want to listen."
Hey, Grandpa, tell me how it is.
Yeah, exactly. He just has that very soothing, calming voice. Like you almost want to hire him if you have to deliver bad news. Somebody like, "Hey, Mike, can you go tell them that for me?" But he has one of those soothing voices. And what's funny is well, not funny, but he was trained in opera. So at the event, he actually got up and sang an operatic like melody, and then sat right back down, right back to the deep voice. And so this guy can work all the ranges, but what's his normal tone is this. And what does he do? He ends up not just being on TV, but he does a lot of voiceovers. If you listen to it, kind of like Morgan Freeman, right? Or I watched something the other day, and it was James Earl Jones when he did the original, what was it? He was Star Wars. He did, yeah. And then he did.
Wasn't he Luth? Wasn't he Darth Vader?
He was Darth Vader's voice, and then he was something else. What was it? Yeah. No, he wasn't just the heavy breathing. He had a lot too. Was it Hercules? No, Conan the Barbarian, because he was. What about? He did a lot of voiceover in that too. So.
For which?
He was the bad evil guy that could turn into a snake. You don't remember that?
No.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I think I maybe watched 10 minutes of that whole thing.
Really?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Like that was the whole thing.
Well, Arnold was great, but it was such bad acting. It's like, come on. It was like an E movie. It wasn't even a B movie. It was so far down. It was ridiculous.
It's funny because all these, I have all streaming apps now, and when they bring back older movies, I'm like, "Oh, I'll watch it." I'm like, "Oh, how did I watch it?" It's just
Star Wars is the worst with their special effects.
Yeah.
I mean, Space Nuts, you expected to have bad ones because that was the whole purpose of it. But
well, okay, on a total tangent from that one.
Spaceballs,
yes. Mel Brooks also released his other movie, History of the World Part 1, back onto Hulu. But I'm sorry, History of the World Part 2, which I never thought they'd ever remake something like that, but turns out they did. So we talked earlier, what does the deep voice do? And that's basically, it establishes trust. It creates influence. When you learn to slow down, we associate talking fast with nervousness. Just as general people, we do that. I'm a fast talker. Brian Bogert's a fast talker. And when people talk too fast, that's what we associate. And that's why we tell people slow down. And that's something you're pretty good at, Ed, is you just kind of slow down your talk when you're talking.
On the you missed the most important word in there, the fourth one. Authority.
Yes, it creates authority.
Yeah.
That it does. And so I kind of mentioned this earlier. I got ahead of myself, but he gave the physical reaction of what you do. And that's just when you lower your voice, or lower your chin, it automatically lowers your voice at the same time.
Does it really? Does
Yeah.
it really? Does it?
It kind of does. I played with it afterwards. I'm like, I'm going to test this shit out. And
Yeah.
sure enough, it did.
Yeah.
So it was, like I said, it was a good one because you got to hear it from him and not just read it. He talked about experiences. He gave different stories, even with negotiating things in the business world now outside of being with the FBI. But you have to sit there. It is interesting that look at a lot of the negotiation books, body language books, you name it. If the person comes from, don't hit that one. When the person comes from a 3-letter agency, there's that automatically credibility built in of they must have learned this as a result of their training. Now, sometimes that's true, but then it's even training outside of that they learned, right? And the reason I bring that up is when people are getting started, it's always that, well, I didn't work for this, I didn't work for that. But remember, it's the skills that they added, because thousands of people are in every one of those organizations. But what extra skills did they add to it that then made them the authority when they left that 3-letter agency? So,
Gotcha.
yeah. So,
but I thought you were going to say trust, because there's no trust in the 3-letter agencies anymore. Not now, anyway. They need to work on that.
That is something they definitely need to work on. But speaking of 3-letter agencies, so the other thing that he suggested is always giving people 3 sets of options. And this goes back to a sales technique that even Tom Hopkins, when we covered him a few weeks ago, he would say things like, oh, so do you want the couch delivered on Tuesday or Thursday? And what Chris is saying is, while that may have been popular for a period of time, you actually get more credibility and seem as more like I'm trying to work with you when you give people 3 options and 3 different choices. So that way you seem flexible. You're trying to work with them instead of just giving them 2 alternatives and that's it.
Gotcha. So this work with your kids. All right. You have 2 choices. You have 3 choices. You go to bed now.
Right.
You go to bed with your butt spanked. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh, we do it all the time. Like with Viola, it's all right. Do you want 5 more minutes before you go to bed? You know, like you can do those little things with kids. Because it's right. If you say go to bed right now, it's no. Oh, but you want 5 more minutes before you go to bed? Well, they're always going to pick that. They haven't learned the sales techniques. You don't have to give them 3 choices yet.
All right, you got 5 minutes and you're going to bed. Oh, I don't want to go to bed.
Exactly. But if you tell them go to bed right now, then it seemed like a punishment. So you add in that extra little buffer there, and that helps take care of it.
I mean, we complained so much that we had to go to bed early and have naps, and now that's all we want to do.
I just told somebody this story. So last year, my daughter was in pre-kindergarten, and her big complaint about school was they make me lay down on the cot and take a nap, and I don't like doing it. And now that she's in kindergarten or just graduated kindergarten, what was her top complaint about kindergarten? They wouldn't let me take a nap in the middle of the day. Welcome to adulthood, kid.
That's right. Growing up.
That's right. Now, with that being said, hey, naps, they're worth it. Ironically, that since we brought that up, Chris was talking about that. He actually brought up Huberman Labs in his discussion. And he was talking about rather than getting caffeined up, always grabbing coffee, he'll actually, if he needs to prepare for a negotiation or something, he'll go and take a 15-minute nap over a stimulant, because he found that actually keeps him in a better pace and a better mood than trying to amp something up.
Yeah, the other day I was like sitting here working on stuff here at the office, and I'm like, you're just tired from all, so I went, luckily I have a sectional in my office. So I went in there and took I think it was like maybe 12-minute nap, got up, was like, well, it was easy to get right back on it. Because they say afternoon naps are really important in business, depending on when you get up. I get up early, 4:30, 5 o'clock. So
not me.
Yeah, well, that's the difference.
Yeah. Well, I get up at now it's 7, but I used to get up at 6:15 because during school she has to be butts in seats by 7:30 in the morning or 7:50. But driving her to school can take 15 minutes or 50 minutes. So we always had to be out the door at 7 o'clock no matter what. So I was up at 6:15, coffee, make breakfast, grab her, take her to school, and then sit in traffic on the way back. But he talked about taking naps. It is interesting that a lot of Europe still does the afternoon nap, right? They closed down shop for that period of time, and it still just hasn't been widely accepted here in the US. There was a book by a Navy SEAL, and I can't remember the name of it. Not Jocko. This was before Jocko was out there. But there was another guy, and he talked about taking a caffeinated nap And that was, you drink your cup of coffee and then you go take a 15-minute nap. And what it does is it allows your body to sleep before the caffeine gets in there. And then it makes it that much more of an experience. So I used to do those from time to time, just like in the middle of the afternoon. All right, make a cup of coffee, slam it, go take. And the important thing was lay on your couch. So like you were talking about your sectional, make sure your feet are elevated above your heart. And that gets you a more deep REM sleep for that short 15 minutes or however long it is.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to go take a nap. I'll be right back.
Try the caffeinated nap.
No, that's all right. Mine are always caffeinated.
I got you.
I mean, that's the problem about drinking so much coffee. You drink so much, and then it actually has the opposite effect because you have too much.
Yes.
But that's not what this show's about.
Yeah, but we're just talking about just different things to help you get you through the day. But yeah, back to the negotiations and Chris Voss. I think everybody should read his book. I know you said you haven't read it yet.
No, I'll listen to it before you know it. So
yeah, I was gonna say that even the Audible is really good, but a lot of things I had to use in just my day-to-day world, right? Because whenever you're in any type of account management, anything, it's kind of like working a help desk to a degree. There's sometimes just bad news that has to be delivered, or we would have contracts that we had to negotiate, and you have to go into it not always thinking about win-win or what I want, but what are different skills that you can use in the actual negotiation. Thinking outside the box, looking at like he talked about before. Don't get emotional. Use the late night DJ FM voice. That type of things where it's hard to not get emotional about things, especially here as a parent, right? Well, you can get so angry at something they do, but yelling at a kid has so many adverse effects that you learn over time. But if you can learn to explain to them in a calm and rational voice, you get more out of it. And same thing with, arguments about pretty much anybody is they always say those who stay in control, like the first person to lose their shit is the one who's the losing factor, right? Because then you showed too much emotion. Then the other side's like, I got you now. So it's a good book.
Yeah. Well, my thing is this kids need to know what ultimate punishment is, though.
Yes.
Yes. Then they know what it's going to get to before,
Right.
I remember this one time I threw a styrofoam ball at my daughter and she like freaked out because it was just, it was freaking it wouldn't even, it bounced right off you, but it's like, it was getting her attention and she's like, it's like, give me a break, little girl. It's like, can we go a little dramatic?
Yeah.
That's the other daughter who was in drama, not you. So stop it.
I don't know why it made me think of it when you're saying it. I went to a scramble golf tournament like 3 weeks ago, and I was driving the golf cart and I saw two golf carts lined up here. Sorry, I guess you guys can see here. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just drive around and go to this side. And when I went driving around, somebody was teeing off and I didn't pay attention because I was looking at the pavement. And the guy in the passenger seat's like ducking. And he's like, you a-hole. He's yelling at me. And they were actually hitting marshmallows, and we didn't know that. Because that was one of the contests. So he thought golf balls were flying at him. So his adrenaline was pumped up. It turned out it was just marshmallows.
Oh, poor baby.
Needless to say, I don't think he'll have me driving the golf cart for the next scramble we go to, but it made me think of it with your story.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
Exactly. What else you got for us today, Ed?
Nothing. This is all about what you learned because I didn't learn this yesterday. Like I said, I've been a little busy with my other stuff. For every hour of radio live, it's like homework. You got to have like 3 hours for every hour to study and find stuff to talk about because you're just talking. You're trying to get people to call you.
Yeah.
And the more you can
names or
exactly. And the more you can get them emotional some way, the more they'll call.
Right. Well, that's like pique their interest, right?
Right. And so, I mean, okay, so he was the FBI guy, all that, but it still sounds like all this stuff is what we learned from the sales guys who learned. So psychology is really huge. I always tell people if you go get a psychology degree, you would do really well in sales.
Well, that's what they say. Or marketing.
People. Huh?
Or marketing. Like who wrote the book Influence? Caldini. I don't remember his first name, but he started out as a psychology major and then moved into marketing. Because once you understand how the human brain works and what tactics to apply, you can control and understand a lot of things.
Well, it's just like that whole statement of trying to get somebody to guess the card that you pulled, how you can take someone down a path by getting control of them. It's amazing how that really works.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things how that book influenced was they figured out that if they asked people to put a small sign in their yard, then they came back a month later and said, hey, can we put a larger sign in their yard? Then people would do that, right? So, and they go, okay, cool. That's why at grocery stores, what do? They give you the free little sample. So then you're more likely to buy it versus just going past it and deciding to buy it on the fly. And that's why a lot of things have, the 7-day free trial. Then you hopefully just forget about it. But once you spend a little bit of money, you and I have read the same book, Russell Brunson's book, like Traffic Secrets and everything. And that is get anybody who buys an entry-level product is seen on such a more likely tier to buy an additional product because they've already invested with you. You've already got their credit card number. So they're willing to take that next step. So then it becomes a negotiation of what's your product? How do you create value? What makes them pull the trigger?
Right. And that all has to do with their stacking through their funnel, what they have you in. Just say no for multiple times and you'll get it cheaper.
Exactly. No, it's exactly right. Anybody who says yes the first time around, you're like, sucker, you're wasting money.
You owned it at the highest price possible.
Exactly.
Wait. Don't go anywhere. We got one more chance.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah.
So anyway, go back. Here's his name again, Chris Voss. The book, Never Split the Difference. Like I said, I highly recommend it. You'll know if I really like a book if you see me like make notes and dog ear it and everything else. So
is that what that means? Or you just I thought we meant you disrespectful to the book. You just don't care about it.
Not at all. I love me some books. I like Audible, but then I'm just like, dang, I can't underline it and go back and find it later.
I know. That's why I like when they give you like the PDF stuff you could have in there and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which they're getting better about that. Well, it's interesting. Steve was talking the other day that if he does a third book, he may just do pure Audible with it because people will buy an Audible and listen to it right away versus a lot of people buy books and never open it. So the greater impact is put it on Audible.
I believe it. One of us is having problems.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that because there's somebody else. I was like, they had, multiple books on their stuff. I went to them. It's like 30 pages, 70 pages. Right. And so it's like, okay, what kind of book is that? But I guess Audible would be better. Right?
Exactly. So,
because then you can even do a video on it and break it up into a course.
Yep.
So
100%.
And that's what I still need to do with mine. And there's so much I need to do and just not enough time in the day.
Yep. Well, quit moving dirt and actually do some work.
I'm not moving dirt anymore. I'm trying to pull something up, but anything else you want to go over today? My internet will be fixed, like I said, the July 18th or 19th. One of those two.
I think just wish everybody have a happy 4th of July.
The whole thing. Yeah.
We won't be back next week because of 4th of July. So we will be back a week and a half from now since today's Thursday.
Yeah.
So we'll be back on schedule the following week, but next week we're taking off. We're going on vacation, celebrate America.
And my birthday.
Oh, and your birthday. That's right.
Yeah, my birthday.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, look, I'm going to go to Vegas to celebrate your birthday. How nice is that?
There you go. All right, let's. And again, thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. If you like what we do here, just the best way to support is to subscribe our YouTube channel, which is Aces53. Also, Ed Parcaut is mine, and Brian is Subtle Skills.
Yep.
And so make it a great day, and we'll see you in a week.
All right, bye, everybody.
All right, bye.